The top dog, I know these niggas all want my position. Cause I'm putting up numbers like a statistician. The king back like LeBron when he returned to Cleveland. Time to spread the bag around, make sure we all eating. Heard some niggas think they got us, guess we all even.
Hey everybody, this is your girl Raquel. This show is sponsored by the CEO and President Thomas Bunn of a record label Infect the System. Refer to infectthesystem.com for content, services, and updates. And Mr. Corned Beef is another one of our sponsors for their location in Highland Park. It will be opening in a few months, so be looking out for them. They have some good food too, y'all. So we have an amazing show for you today. My co-host, my husband, and our guest Natalie. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. You could have chosen to do anything with your time, but you chose to rock it out with us. So how are you feeling today, babe?
I'm good. Just chilling.
That's good. That's good. Without further delay, let me introduce our special and amazing guest who I refer to as a blessing to this planet and a miracle when it comes to spiritual battles. She is a longtime friend of mine. We went to high school together. She is one of the hottest DJs in Detroit and the creator of the Just Do Better movement. She has blessed us with her presence today to show her personal story and battle with alcohol addiction. Natalie is now celebrating 4 years and 6 months sober. Welcome to the show, Natalie.
Hey.
We are so happy to have you. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling all right. How are you feeling? You all right?
I'm pretty good. I was jumping a little bit before this. A couple foolishness popped up with my phone. Couldn't get it together. But now I'm together.
Okay. It's Saturday, so that's always a good thing. Always a good thing.
Yes, for sure. So, Natalie, when did this begin? Like, when did you start, or how did it start with the drinking?
I started drinking probably maybe like 11, 12, something around like that. See, back in the day, grandparents kept the liquor out. The bars, back then, the old school houses looked the basement. Everybody had a bar in the basement. Yeah. So the grandparents had bars in the basement, and the bumpy face, see from Jen, Jen will make you sin. And that was kind of like I would just drink on that. And then, my pops, he had liquor too. It was nothing to get to the liquor cabinet. And back in the day, your parents would, give you a little taste. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like, and I'm like, beer was my thing. And so I'm like, I want more, and began drinking. I was a social drinker, though. I wasn't like a alcoholic per se. I really only drank on the weekends and when I went out. I didn't really realize I had an issue until I moved down to Atlanta and I came back. I was drinking at like 5 o'clock in the morning because that's how they got down there. Like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. Yo, turn up. Okay, so we turning up. Jack Daniels, all types of stuff. Ciroc, we just drinking 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. Back in the day when I was living in Michigan at the time, I didn't really like drinking until like 5, rush hour traffic. It's cool to start drinking, but there was no time limit on drinking. So I began to drink more and more as I was dealing with issues from just childhood. Drinking was just my thing. So when I came back to Michigan, I ended up losing my grandmother like a year after being home. And then that was when the heavy drinking started to come. I was drinking all day, every day. I was drinking, I was taking shots. I was working under the influence. In people's presence, people didn't even know I was under the influence because I'm just goofy by nature. So I can just be goofy and nobody's going to really look at me and be like, oh, she's drunk. You know what I'm saying? So I just, that was my thing.
Okay, so I want to put some things in perspective. When she's talking about how she was drinking, I'm going to give you a few statistics here. So the National Institute of Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism states a standard drink contains about 0.6 ounces of pure alcohol. So that's 5 ounces of wine with a 12% alcohol content, 8 ounces of malt liquor with a 7% alcohol content, 12 ounces of beer, with a 5% alcohol content and a 5-ounce shot of 80 proof with 40% alcohol. So alcohol abuse for men looks like 5 drinks in 2 hours, and in women it looks like 4 drinks in 2 hours. So you can go ahead.
You know, them statistics are very, very legit. Sometimes I'm like, you know, Google wasn't out back then, you know, so I didn't, you know, really know what alcohol truly can do. And don't get me wrong, yeah, we had DARE, you know, the program DARE, that was dope. Yeah. But, you know, I mean, I just like the shirt and the colors. I really didn't really care about the message behind it. You know what I'm saying? Not really understanding, like, yeah, stay away from alcohol, stay away from drugs, stuff like that. So with drinking, I didn't know calories and sugar was involved in that. So my intake was so high, I began to gain weight. I gained probably around maybe 65 to 70 pounds. I was like 225 pounds. Wow. One day I woke up and I just felt like death. I felt horrible. I wasn't going to doctors. I wasn't doing physicals. I wasn't being proactive with my health or anything like that, because when you're in your 20s and you're young, you feel like you're invincible. Like, I don't need to go to a doctor. I'm straight. You know, just drink some Robitussin, wake up the next morning and I'm straight. You know what I'm saying? So when I woke up that day and I felt so horrible, I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that something wasn't right. I went to 2 hospitals that day and nobody detected that my sugar was like ridiculously high. I even DJ'd an event that day, and I really don't even know how I got through it, because I really felt like I was going to pass out. So I finally decided to go see the doctor, and the doctor was like, yeah, you're type 2. I got the call like the next day. Like, yeah, you're type 2, your sugar, your A1C is like a 12. And it's supposed to be like the highest is a 7. So I'm walking around here just heavy sweating, just big. And so they put me on metformin. I started doing research about metformin and realized that it attacks your kidneys and liver. So though it's helping one thing, it's harming another. So I was determined at that point that this is not going to be my life. I will not take a pill every day to survive. So what do I have to do? Oh, you just have to lose the weight. Okay, well, we can do that. We can make that happen. So the weight just started coming off. I stopped drinking. And how that ended up happening was that I had an intervention in my dreams. My grandparents came to me in my dreams, and I genuinely believe that, you know, God really didn't know how else to reach me. I done crashed my car. You know, I'm out here just spending money. I'm broke, literally out here doing scheming and scamming just so I can just drink, like really on some crackhead shit. It was that deep for me to function. I was literally a functional alcoholic, and so it definitely, and I was proud of that at that time.
Now, can you kindly give us an example of when you say how bad? Give us an example of how you would go to get your alcohol, like if you didn't have the money. So how would you go?
You know, bottles, take bottles, you know what I'm saying? You know, was able to, you know, people out here owing me money, you know what I'm saying? It's time to collect. Out here hustling, whatever I needed to do. And then it was times that I hit my parents like, hey, I need this. Not for what necessarily telling them what I needed for, but they knew what I was doing with it. You know what I'm saying? I believe my parents rather me get it from them than me go out there and do some ridiculous stuff. That's why when I watch Intervention, I be understanding, like they say, like you're enabling your child by doing A, B, and C. Like I totally get that, but I also understand from a parent's point of view where I don't want my child out here doing something that's gonna get themselves killed. So I'd rather just go ahead and give this to them if it's just gonna just make this stop for the time being, and I know that they're safe regardless of whatever they're doing, then I'd rather go ahead and give them the money. And because I knew that, it was like conning. It became a mental manipulation game with me. I was very manipulative when I was under the influence, because I had to figure out, my whole goal was to figure out where this next drink was coming from. And then it began to get so bad where I was stopping before I go to work and grabbing double shots of Absolute, like 4 or 5 of them, and taking them to the head before I even walked in the door to work.
You're talking about shots, right?
Shots.
Yeah,
double shots of Absolute Peach, Absolute Pear, and was just in the car, just, you know, and in my mind, because people are like, didn't they smell you? And I said, well, you know, you got those Tony's perfume carts and, you know, on Fairlane with an oil you know, I'm very down with the oil. The oil, when you put it on your skin, you start sweating, you smell the oil. You don't smell anything else. So I had a system of, I had a whole system of how not to get caught, how not to know. Because when I finally came out and said I had an issue, 95% of the people I dealt with were very, very like thrown back. They didn't know because I really kept it under wraps for me. So because I didn't want to be that drunk, so I didn't go out to parties and clubs because I wasn't gonna be that drunk he was carrying out the club. I wasn't gonna be that tasteless, just carelessness like that. I didn't want to be that one. So if I was gonna pass out, I was gonna be passing out in the privacy of my own home, on my steps, on my porch, in my car, in front of the house, on top of the roof, wherever. It was. I passed out in so many places.
So a typical day. So a typical day. What was your intake? What was you?
My intake was I did Seagram's extra smooth vodka. I did half pint. It was $3.50. So I'll buy a half pint and then I'll get a deuce, which is a tall brew, and I'll did that. So in my mind, I felt like instead of buying a big one, I wasn't really a bad drinker if I bought them in small dosages. Right. So I can do a half pint of Seagram's vodka, and the total by the end of the day, I done bought like 6.
Oh, whoa.
Jesus.
Whoa.
And then if I couldn't get money for real, and I can only drink what I could drink, then I was drinking malt liquor. I was drinking OE. I was drinking Steel Reserve. I was drinking Mad Dog 2020. I was drinking Colt 45 because the alcohol content on that was like 7.5. Ridiculously high.
Right.
So that's powerful. So just to be clear for those listening, it sounds like you had a system, you were organized, but you wanted to keep up appearances as well. So through the manipulation, through the organization, you still wanted to have this appearance that you can't smell me, you ain't gonna see me out here bad. Yeah, you had a whole system. You were dedicated. You're a bad person.
If I had to do it, my grandparents and my daddy always said, do what you do, but do it well. And so if this was going to be a sport, then the sport was going to be, the illusion. Appearance is everything to me, you know what I'm saying? Right. And that's how I looked at it. Like, even though I'm struggling and I'm crying on the inside, it's all about that mask that we wear, and a lot of us wear on a regular basis.
So get into the intervention for us, because if this is what I think it is, very powerful.
Okay. The intervention per se, I went to sleep one night, and that was the night that I wasn't feeling well, and I just had a dream, and the dream was that I went down to my parents' basement, and I looked up. It was surrounded by alcohol bottles. And next thing I know, pretty much all my grandparents had something to say to me in reference to drinking. And when I woke up, I woke up in tears, just in tears. And what they said to me basically was like, my grandfather, he asked me, did I want to die today? And I said, no. And he just looked at me and he said, well, you keep doing what you're doing, and you be right here. And I woke up and I made a call to my ex at that time, and I told her that I was done drinking.
Okay, we're going to go for a break, so stay with us, and we're going to finish that good intervention story, because is it powerful. Yes, and we're back from the break. This show is brought to you by Infected System record label and Mr. Corned Beef. So now we're getting back to you, Natalie, with your intervention.
Yes. So each one of my grandparents had a message to say to me. The crazy part about it was that everything that my grandparents were on earth, they were in heaven. They all were doing the same thing. And one of my grandmothers was responsible for keeping the kids safe until their parents came over to be with them. Like, it was just real deep. And so when I woke up that next day, I just made that decision that I was done drinking. No rehab. There was no AA. There was no any of that. I just said, we just going to stop this cold turkey, and I'm just going to deal with it. So I was going to work, going through all types of withdrawals, sweating profusely, throwing up, just shaking. I couldn't keep my hands still. And every day, I'm trying to hear God's voice to stay focused, because there was so many times where I was just like, okay, I'm just not going to do this. Like, this is retarded. So as time went on, became easier. Mentally, I realized that this is a mental thing at this point for me to be able to stay sober. And so I decided at that point that I was going to keep going with this. This is what I was going to do. And God basically was like, you need to share this. And so I decided one day to get on Facebook and say, okay, my name is Natalie, and I am alcoholic, and I've been dealing with this for A, B, and C. And it became a journey, not just for me, but for other people. And for me to keep going, the weight started to come off even more, to the point where I walked in the doctor's office one day and he just said, okay, you no longer have to take metformin. We're no longer going to classify you as a diabetic, and we're going to just monitor everything with your weight. So at that point, I just did the biggest yell because I did not want to take that medication knowing what it was doing to me. In the process of all of that, of just being sober and getting sober, I think a lot of people don't realize that how many people they affected, how many people they hurt, how many things that they put other people through going, you know what I'm saying? You weren't the only one in this. Mm-hmm. So when I got sober, I just expected everybody just to be like, she's sober, hallelujah, we're going to sing all praises and we're going to go back to regular life. And that's not how it works. You have to take responsibility for the things that you've done and the people that you've hurt. And there's a lot of times that these people are not going to accept your apology. They're not going to forgive you, and you have to deal with that. And it's very hard to tell somebody that I'm sorry for A, B, and C, and they respond and say, you know what? F you, F that apology. You did A, B, and C, and that's just unforgivable. And it's very hard. You have to swallow that. And that's something that can immediately just make you just the one go back and drink, because you're just like, no, I'm not that person. I'm not who you thought I was. This isn't me. I am a totally different person. And that was one of the hardest things that I had to deal with. People couldn't separate me, the old Natalie, from the new Natalie. So then I had to start cutting people off. Because at this point, if you can't see my transformation and you still want to be stuck in that level, I have to let you go, because you are now toxic for me.
Right.
And anybody that is going to come between me and my sobriety at this point is non-negotiable. You have to go. So as I started to grow, I started to get back into DJing, because I had stopped. I stopped everything when I was drinking. That was my life. That's what was my goal, was to drink. As I started to DJ, get better, and everything started to get better, I started to notice things physically with me weren't going right. And at this point, I'm not saying anything. I started noticing that I was losing the feelings and my sensation in my hands. I started realizing that when I was walking, I was feeling off balance. I started to notice all of a sudden the bottom of my feet were swelling. My hands were swelling. It was times where one time I literally, the vision in my left eye just went out. And I was standing at work, and I'm just standing there, and I'm just talking to God, and I'm saying, okay, please just please, whatever this is. At this point in time, I need this sight back. Like this is not what we discussed. This is not what this is not the plan. Like, I don't know what's going on, but we're going to keep rocking. And then it will come back. My appetite started going away, and then the weight started to come off even more. The lowest I was at was like 111. Mm-hmm. And at this point, now I'm going back to the doctor.
Not to interrupt you, but I just want to bring a point. Can you please tell the listeners, what is your height, so they can put in perspective of your weight?
I am 5'5".
Yes. Okay.
So
at 111. Wow.
By doctor's standpoint, from the medical charts, technically I'm actually okay weight wise, but we know on a African American level that is just not okay on any way, shape, or form. So I knew something was going on. I got out of adult sizes and I started wearing junior, youth, larges, youth, mediums. My weight was just going. And I tell people, I was big. I know what it feels like to be big. And now I know what it feels like to be small. And it's very, very frustrating when people constantly look at you and tell you, oh, you look like you need to eat a sandwich, or you look like you need to eat. And they're not really realizing or understanding, like, baby, I'm trying to eat.
Right.
I'm trying to gain weight. You just don't walk around saying that stuff. You got to be very conscious of what you say to people, because you do not know what they're dealing with. A lot of people don't want to walk around being little, and I know a lot of people who desperately are trying to gain weight, So to walk around and saying you need to eat like they not eating 9 times a day just trying to gain a pound, that's very insensitive. So at this point, I'm shopping in the kids section. Very just kind of just looking around, people looking at me like I'm weird because I'm trying to, match the shirt up to my chest, see if things fit. And, people just kind of staring at me. And, there's certain things that I just had to deal with. And then meanwhile, now I'm breaking down hives, start breaking down hives every day. We got to the point where, I was popping probably maybe 7 to 6 Benadryl a day, to the point where my body became so used to it that I can function with it. Benadryl knocks you out. I wasn't sleeping. I was getting real bad headaches. My nose started bleeding out of the blue, out of nowhere. I started to become very dark, very angry, and because I'm walking around and I feel myself deteriorating. And then I became very mean. I was mean and very evil to a lot of people, because I'm sick, but I can't say this. I can't tell these people this is what I'm going through. And then to go back to the doctor and they tell me that your sugar is like 400 and we don't know why. So now we got to put you back on the medication. So you put me back on this medication and I know it's killing me. And it's because my pancreas is not producing enough insulin because I drank my pancreas to death, in a sense. I drank so much that it killed my pancreas to the point where now my pancreas cannot produce enough insulin. And I'm sitting back now. Now, this is something that I have to walk around with to say I did this shit to myself, okay? So I'm type 2. And now he's putting me back on this metformin, and I'm seeing him every month, but nothing is happening. Nothing's working. The sugar is really not doing anything. So he adds another medication to it to help along the pancreas, and that's not working. And now every day the symptoms are getting worse, and I'm having heart palpitations, and I'm in the car driving, and I'm losing feeling in my feet, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna stop because I can't feel my feet. Going to work, just not remembering anything. Now my memory is just messed up. I can't really remember what you just said to me. I'm constantly asking you and over again. Like I felt like I was losing my mind, and I'm still not saying anything. And I'm dealing with this in silence. But in the meantime, between time, I became very evil. That's why I understand when sick people are so evil and angry, especially when you don't know what's wrong with you. And so I'm going to the doctor, and at this point, there is no, well, let me refer you to a specialist. He was really not doing anything. So I had to become an advocate for myself. And I had to go seek out my own specialist. And I went to go see, I call them the endos, the ones that deal with the thyroid and, all of that. So I go and they come at me and they tell me, you're type 1. You're not type 2. I don't know why they're telling you that you're type 1. And you also have something that we like to call thyroid Hashimoto. And that is when your immune system and your nervous system deems your thyroid as foreign, and it attacks your thyroid, not understanding that you need your thyroid, and your thyroid is very, very needed in your body to function. So I was not accepting what they were telling me, because when I walked into that doctor's office, it was like a meat market. It was people on top of people. They literally had me sitting in the back for about an hour. Didn't even know I was still back there. They was getting ready to close, and they're like, oh, you know what I'm saying? So now I'm looking, I'm just a number. I'm not taking that from you. So at this point, I said, they said, well, we want to put you on insulin. So the lady just walks in with the insulin and basically said, here, take this, but you have to eat a lot, because if you don't, you can slip into a coma. And I'm just looking at her like, I don't know how much I'm supposed to eat. I don't know A, B, and C. This is not acceptable. But I didn't say anything. I just grabbed the stuff and I walked out, and I got in the car and I made phone calls and I said, I'm not taking this. This is not what it is. I'm going to seek out more answers. And that's when I decided to go to the holistic way. In the meantime, between time of that, it's very mentally challenging to walk around knowing that something's wrong with you and that you pretty much are the cause and the corporate of what's going on with you. That is a very, very hard pill to swallow. And I tell people that is like a guilt and burden I wouldn't wish on anybody, because that this did not have to be your life. And then I see myself drinking all of these bottles, and I see myself, people begging me to stop drinking. And I'm just like, no, I'm not. I'm going to keep drinking. I used to say, I'm going to keep drinking until I die. I didn't care. You know what I'm saying? Not realizing that for real, I was literally killing myself, not understanding just how toxic alcohol can be if consumed on a regular basis consistently. So when I went to seek out, her name is Dr. Wine, Health Holistic. They basically ran all types of tests, did all type of blood type work that I've never, ever even heard of before. And when she sat down for the results, she confirmed that, yeah, you are type 1. Now, everybody was looking confused because most people who are type 1, that's birth, or you're gradually become as a child. But to say you're 33, 34 years old as a non-type 1, you know what I'm saying? How that doesn't make any sense. So now we're trying to figure out how this even came to be. And, roughly she's like, you probably were type 1 from jump, but you were so big at the time, all the signs led to your type 2. So we're just going to put you on the metformin. But after a while, your body now is just burning up everything because your insulin, there's no insulin in your body. And she did say that the drinking did not make it any better. And you don't really look at it when you think about drinking, you just associate it with liver. Like, you're going to kill your liver. You're going to kill your liver. It's killing your liver. I'm not associating like this can kill my pancreas too. And so now they're like, your pancreas is making little to no insulin and you have to take this insulin for the rest of your life. So I am type 1 autoimmune diabetic. And I have thyroid Hashimoto as well. On top of just having pretty much every level in my body of vitamins pretty much at this point right now are extremely low. And my iron is pretty much non-existent at this point. So in the beginning when all this was said, like I was like, I'm not taking the insulin. I'm not doing any of this. I was doing no carb, no sugar diet. And I was just only pretty much on a protein, meats, nuts, cheese, stuff like that. Trying to pretty much not allow any heavy carbs or sugar to spike my sugar any higher than what it was. And it kept it down to like a 180, between 198 and 189, but they want the sugars not supposed to be any higher than 100. And I think like not any lower than like 60. So I was still on a diabetic level. And eventually they like, if you don't take this insulin, like you can stroke out. And so now I'm just like, I don't want to take this insulin because like the side effects, I always look at taking medicine, the longevity of things. How is this going to affect me 20, 30 years from now? Am I going to be able to move? Am I going to have all my limbs? How am I supposed to, this is what I'm thinking. And I'm not really having a true understanding of what type 1 is because I've been walking around for 5 years thinking that I'm type 2. So now I have to literally take insulin 4 times a day. And I have to take it every time I eat. I check my sugar every time before I eat to know where the levels are, to know what dosage I'm supposed to give myself on a regular basis. And this is very hard for me to deal with. And I became very angry and very bitter for a very minute because I'm all about to just do better. But I tell people it's okay not to be okay. And sometimes we tell ourselves these things and we tell things to motivate people, but we don't use those. We don't take our own advice, and we don't know how to transform what we say to people onto ourselves. So I'm walking around here extremely just angry because I'm like, I did this shit to myself, and this could have been avoided. And had I known A, B, and C, which is another thing, is a huge big deal for you to know your family health history. I had no idea that I had people on my mom's side who were type 1 and type 2 diabetics. Now, I'm not saying had I known that would have caused me to go down a different route of drugs, a choice of drug, but still to not know these things, to be like, I don't have, anybody on my side of the family is diabetics. And if they are, they're type 2. And most people who are type 2 is more weight than anything. So to find that out, I was just like, man, that was just like another blow. So I just became even more angry. And I said, well, what the hell am I staying sober for at this point? What is the purpose for me to be sober at this point where I'm just getting hit, and I'm taking these hits to the point where I just can't keep getting back up. I'm tired of getting hit, and I'm tired of having to dust myself back up and act like I'm okay and keep going and going and going. So at this point, you know what I'm saying, let me just go to the liquor store. Let me just go ahead, forget the 4 years and 6 months at this point, because I'm looking at diabetes as a death sentence anyway. So if I'm going to kill myself, I'm going to kill myself in the manner in which I started this. We just going to go out with a bang. And I was cussing God out, all types of stuff. Because me and God, we be having all type of conversations on a regular basis. You know what I'm saying? And I was going in on him. And I know that people are like, oh, you can't talk to God. Like, I talk to him. I have my own relationship with him. So I'm just like, this is not what we talked about. This was not the plan. This is not what we discussed. This is not what you promised me. You know what I'm saying? You told me if I got sober, you know what I'm saying, that the world pretty much would be at my feet. And it was. That's why I tell people, nobody stays at the top forever. I don't care how, whatever you're doing, nobody ever stays at the top. Something is going to happen. And it's going to really determine if you were deserving to be at the top in the first place. And that's how I look at it. So I was real angry, and I was just like, I'm done DJing. F just do better. F all of this shit at this point. Now I'm going to go back to being a professional alcoholic. I'm not taking this insulin. I'm not taking none of these vitamins. I'm not about to eat. If I'm gonna do this, whatever. So I was in the car one day, and I'm just driving, and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna go to work. When I get off work, I'm gonna go to the liquor store, and I'm gonna go ahead. We're just gonna start this off, because I'm just like, F this, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm at work, and working, get off work, get in the car, and I'm just sitting there, and then I just felt like this presence. I can't tell you how or what. And it was just telling me, it wouldn't allow me to put my keys in the ignition. It just wouldn't allow me to do anything, because whatever the spirit was, it knew what I was getting ready to go do. And it wasn't allowing me to do that. And at that point, that's when I realized that this is bigger than me. This isn't about me anymore. This is totally on a whole different level. And the testimony and the story, like, I can't stop. As angry as I am about the situation, as angry as I am that now that I literally have to depend on something to live for the rest of my life, to inject myself with a substance that, you know, I'm really not too familiar with. But what I do know is that it costs the arm and a leg to get insulin. I do know that. And I was hit with that when I went to the pharmacy, even with insurance. It's ridiculous. Mine was like $325 just for some needles and some insulin. So it's on top of that. So now we're talking about finances. I got to do this every 3 months. You know what I'm saying? And then I kept asking myself, like, do I want to even do this? Do I want to go? Do I want to go through this? Is this something I want to do for the rest of my life? And that's something I'm still asking myself. Is this something that I want to do for the rest of my life? So when I hear people complaining about shit now, I just be looking at them like, you don't even know. You really don't know.
That's deep. And we're going to pause on that note. We're going to go to break with such an emotional testimony. I'm literally fighting back the tears. We will come back briefly. All right, you guys, we are back. Again, this show is sponsored by Infect the System record label and Mr. Corned Beef, the soon-to-come Highland Park location. Now, back to what we were talking about before. And, husband, I think you had some things you wanted to or could offer as well.
Well, being that I'm on the other side of the addiction story, not that I've ever dealt with addiction directly, but my parents being drug addicted for all of my life, and we was talking on the break, and she made a very profound analysis about the relationship between her older sister and her mother being tighter than yours, Natalie, and which I understand that because my older brothers and sisters have a very good relationship with my mom. Because they were able to have a sober mother. And by the time that me and my twin brother came along, we just had an addict. And they don't understand why our relationship is the way that it is with my mom. So they look at us as kind of strange and saying, oh man, y'all done moved out to the suburbs and y'all don't want to talk to y'all mama and this, that, and the third. Well, I never seen a mother, you know, in her. She was just a woman that was in the room. You know, and that was ever since birth. So the relationships that you create, unfortunately, when it comes to addicts, and I know you were saying that how you was dealing with people and they still seeing you as that individual. And it's not anything personal. It's just that create a bond, right? It don't have to be negative or positive, but you creating that bond, whichever way that you're doing it. So if you're an addict and you're creating this addictive bond with these people, then that's what it's going to take almost the same amount, if not double the time, to really kind of get over that and see that person a little bit differently. And it's the same thing with my mom. I don't know if our relationship will ever be fixed, because, you know, I mean, I'm 38 years old, so that's all I've known for all my 38 years of living. It's that type of person, that type of personality. So if she changed, she's going to be really foreign to me. I prefer my mother be an addict, because then that's who I know. That's who I grew up with, unfortunately. You know what I mean? And that's just being real. Now, I know it's unhealthy, but I wish the best for her, but I can't really come out and say I'm looking for something different than her, because I don't know what I get. You know what I mean? So your story is extremely powerful and detailed in that regard, and you know, I just want you to continue, man. You know.
Sure.
Where did we leave off last before we went?
I just wanted to keep on talking, sharing that good gold that she got over there. You know? Because usually with people that deal with addiction, the first thing that got was memory, and it seemed like your memory is extremely detailed with everything that you was going through, including the walk afterwards. I mean, I don't remember what I wore yesterday. You know what I mean?
I did drinking. I had a lot of blackout moments, and that is very scary when you wake up and you don't have any recollection of what you've done. I remember I used to wake up and I'm like, oh, 3 rules, like, oh, cell phone, check, keys, check, wallet, check. And then I'll be like, oh, wait a minute, car. Let me go see if my car is still in the front of my house. And then now let me go walk outside to see if I have any marks, scuffs, or anything, because I don't know. If I ran into somebody, I don't know if I hit something. So now I need to figure out, like, what's what. And kind of now I got to go through the phone, the text, and see. I have to kind of start piecing stuff together, which is why I just said I'm going to drink in the privacy of my own home. Mm-hmm. So when I would go out with my friends from time to time, because I never really went out, if I did get wasted, we all was wasted together. So it didn't look like, oh, she got a drinking issue. No, we all toe up. We ain't seen each other in like 5-6 months. That's what you do with people. You get told. So it was acceptable. So we all can get drunk, and then I can go back home and continue to do what I was doing. And it got to the point where, you know, I didn't know liquor stores. You know, I'm from the suburbs. Liquor stores are open till about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning. When I moved to the east side, you know, I got word liquor stores was open at 7 a.m. So I would literally set my alarm clock the days I didn't have to work to wake on up so I can go to the liquor store at 7 in the morning. And I'll be there with the winos, waiting to get my fix, per se. And I would go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Because again, mentally, I felt like if I drank in small dosages, then okay, I'm not really an addict. Right. You know what I'm saying? If I do this, like, okay, if I take a shot from if I don't buy a gallon of Seagrams and I just buy this half pint, but I bought like 15 of them, but still, in my mind, I'm hiding bottles. Because I don't, you know, from addict's perspective, I would hide bottles. I don't know why I would hide the bottles, because it was just me living. I was hiding bottles under my bed. I was hiding bottles in my car. I was hiding bottles under the kitchen sink. When I had stopped drinking, I was literally coming across bottles, half empty bottles, that I don't even remember putting. I don't know why I was hiding these bottles, but they were appearing. As soon as I stopped drinking, they were coming out of the woodwork. In the car, I looked under 6 months after I stopped drinking and found a half bottle of Seagram's vodka just sitting there. And I'm just like, woo.
That devil was real.
Woo, for real at this point. And that's what I noticed, that every time I was, you know, on that high level of just, I'm going to do right, then here comes the devil trying to intervene. And at one point, my relationship with God was so strained because I was so angry with him, because I was so angry at my life. I was angry that he allowed this crap to go on. I was angry that the design of what was going on, that he allowed this to happen, especially when I was a child. Our children are innocent. I didn't deserve this. So why am I going through this? You were supposed to protect me. That's what you were supposed to do. That's what they call you. They call you the healer. They call you the Messiah. They call you the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. And still, you're supposed to love God loves all his children. He doesn't want them to hurt. So why are you allowing this to happen to me? So at this point, there is no God. period. You are dead to me on all type of levels. And I will continue to move as if you don't exist. But let me tell you something. You walk around if you want to acting like God doesn't exist. He will show you that he is here. He will show you how real he truly is if you continue to feel like he is not present.
Wow.
Okay? He will humble you accordingly and have you really, really thinking about some things in your life. And letting you know that some of these things that you're going through, baby, you did this to yourself in certain aspects. Sometimes you have to start taking responsibility for the things that you've done, the people that you've allowed to come in your life, the toxic people that you allow, the crabs in the barrel people that you allowed to come in your life. You have to take responsibility and say, okay, you know what? I was a part of that. You know what I'm saying? At some point, I could have said, I'm not trying to mess with you. I don't want to do all of this. But see, sometimes we feel like we obligated to be cool with somebody because of the years. Years don't mean anything. It's all about the loyalty. I don't care if I've known you for 20 years. But if you weren't loyal to me for those 20 years, then this I don't have to stand by your side because I knew you for 20 years. I knew this person for 6 months, and this person was way more loyal and more dedicated to me than the 20 years of friendship that we had. So there is no more friendship.
Wow, that's deep.
You understand?
I just want to say this because I know the show is going to come to. We got a little bit of time left, but I just want to say that I want you to know that I don't think it's fair what happened to you. But I do understand his choices. But I want you to know somebody is listening to you and sees you as a superhero, and you are a superhero in their book. And excuse me. I'm so sorry. This is just.
I'm sorry, babe.
Nat, from the time I made the promo, I just felt God's presence through all of it. You know, it's funny because we went to high school together, and you know, people talk. And I really don't get into the he say, she say about people. I really don't. You know, if it's not affecting me, then there's no need to gossip. But still, like your story, that would have got through. I never heard nobody say, you know, Nat is alcoholic. Never. And you hid that so well. When you came up with the story, I was like, what? And then we did the video series. And it was just so touching. It was amazing. It's just this feeling that comes over. And I just want to say, I'm so sorry. But if you knew how much you are touching other people, if you could feel the blessing that you are, if you could feel the healing that you are bringing, I don't know what to say, man. I've tried to hold up my tears on this, but right now I'm willing to be vulnerable because I need you to know that you are touching somebody, and you are such a blessing to somebody. And on a very small level, insignificant level, you're making my job look so easy today. But you are definitely
Hold on.
You are definitely the star of this show. I just want to let you know that your spirit is beautiful. You are doing the work of God. You are a blessing. Don't ever let nobody discourage you. And you right. If they want to come with that fine, they want to hold that hurt, fine. If they want to hold that resentment, that's on them. But it allows you to stay focused. Even when you're like, man, why would they do this to me? Then here come God. He literally holds and rocks you. My God, my God. I don't know what else to say, but thank you. Thank you for coming here today. Thank you for being such a blessing. Thank you for being born. Thank you for touching children to come. And thank you for touching the elderly. Thank you for touching the middle-aged. Thank you for touching the teenagers, the babies. You are a blessing. Can't nobody take that from you. They can't take that from you. Your battle is truly a breakthrough. And I just want you to know that. And this is coming from a Leo, and I don't be crying. I don't like nobody to see me cry.
Trust me, I know.
But this is genuine. I have so much love for you, my sister.
Yeah.
Ooh, thank you.
Yeah.
Lord.
That's a hell of an outro.
Oh, yeah.
That's a hell of an outro.
All right.
Yeah. We got to do this.
We gonna do a part 2, y'all.
Yeah, apparently we got to do this again.
We gonna do a part 2.